part two of my video on a tour in the northern part of the Robledo Mountains. In this video, we're going to go from point E to point I. I'll show you some photos of what it looks like on the ground, and I'll show you what it looks like from the air in these satellite photos, and how to interpret the various geoglyphs that are there along the way, and show you again how on the ground, how subtle it is. In the first video, I showed these figures closer to the road in the beginning of the trail by this black hill in the lower left part of this picture. We're going to move to the right to an artist's life, and then I'll show you pictures of this area that's all freshly cleared. If we flip it around, the trail goes like this. And again, you can see these big cleared areas as you go out there. And this is the first kind of area you'll hit as you come over the next hill. It shows a guy standing on rocks looking through an instrument. This is the main character out here, who I've been calling the Artist King. If you watch my video on the Artist King, I show these glyphs and how he's using this instrument to survey the landscape so that he can create these geoglyphs, this art on the landscape. When you go out there, you'll see that there's a little small knoll that forms the hand, and you can see from there you can see the cuts that form his mustache. You can follow this clear bench up that's full of ocotillo. The dark areas are rock that's been cleared out and concentrated in those areas with cactus, acacia, and other plants. And I added a little color to this picture to show that they may have been using the actual vegetation to add some color to these pictures. If you draw lines around a lot of the different disturbances and obvious areas, get all kinds of different figures you can see. This man had who I believe had a husband that was a tall red-headed man that looks like he's from Northern Europe. So this is the Artist King. I think he has elephantitis. Usually has some sort of Fu Manchu mustache, or in this case he has the long sideburns. Looks Asian. Appears to have tattoos on his back, and he's wearing this kind of reddish and blue pants. If you adjust the colors, a lot of these things stand out more. In this area, there are a lot of faces that appear to have elephantitis. And from one angle, this whole area appears to be nothing but a celebration of people with elephantitis. I think this artist from Asia was a dwarf with elephantitis. So I think people like that were special in this society. Like they had the spirit almost of an elephant and a man. And dwarfism, I think, was also celebrated. So this guy was really special. He has a lot of not only wealth, but a lot of standing in this society. And he's also one incredible artist, because I believe he created all this. And here he is with his husband, partner. I'm pretty sure I'll show you later where there's a scene of them getting married. And there's different ways to look at it. And so here's the tall red-headed guy with a mustache and a beard. Also must have been an important character, a person in this society. Again, look at it different ways. In this, I reverse the colors. You can kind of bring out some of the different scenes that are there. Show people kissing. Common theme amongst these geoglyphs are people kissing. A lot of times it's men kissing men. And then if you look, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at the tattoos on his back. So there you have the overall scene of these two together. Two pretty good long segments of ridge line here turned into this. So continuing along the trail from the right to the left in this picture, you'll come over a ridge where the surveyor is, and you'll be able to see the artist in the next set of mesas. This is actually a fairly steep surface, and if you get oblique lighting, you can see how this was made on this 3D surface. And when you're out there on the ground, it's subtle but obvious. The red rock forming the artist's pants, it's all little chips of freshly broken rock that's been spread around. You can see all the different divisions in the landscape here where it's been cleared, and other areas where there's a lot more vegetation growing, disturbed areas. It's subtly done, but as you can see from above, with the right lighting, forms pictures. And this part of his foot here, this orange area, has been carved out of the side of this hill, and you see all these rocks around that have been placed here on purpose and also form figures. If you look at my Pinterest page and my other videos, been finding a lot of these carved rocks and rocks placed in different positions to form different figures. Because there's all this prehistoric activity out here, I look at this pattern of junipers along the wash, and I wonder if there aren't wells that were dug along here. It's what you see in Peru in the desert. I don't see why it would be any different here. So I think there probably were wells here, and maybe even some up on the where there's vegetation growing up on top of the mesas. So you can walk along the trail and you'll go through all this red rock that forms the artist, and you go up this fairly steep mesa, and up on top there's this thing called that I labeled grids. It's a fairly flat mesa top, bedrock with a lot of scree on top, and the lines that form that grid system are all this vegetation that's growing along in these patterns. I think they probably dug these out to make it do this on purpose. There may have been natural cracks there that they followed, or they may have just made their own. But I think a lot of these plants, including the soto and the ocotillo, may actually be growing in holes that they dug out, because it all seems very regular and patterned. So if you go farther to the north along this trail, get to the edge of a mesa, and you see these two figures that I believe are this artist king in his kingly robes, and a redhead that also appears to be in robes. Looks young, and just the way it looks to me, looks like some sort of like a wedding portrait. So I think that these two men were probably married, that it was part of their society. And out there on the ground, you can see the red-headed man's hair, part of his face on the side of the hill. You can also see real subtly the king's robe. Kind of has a bit of a triangular pattern along this mesa top, and some coloration, as you can see in the satellite photos. There's different faces in here that might be the king actual face hidden within these figures. And if you look at it one way, it looks like a red-headed guy on the left and an elephant on the right. I believe the king's husband or lover was a swimmer. You can see a guy here with his arm up. Appears to be wearing a pink, reddish rubber swimming hat. These people probably had the ability to use rubber to make different things. And there's a face in his arm. If you turn it around, you see that it looks like a bear swimming and another guy's face. So I'm wondering if the red-headed guy's totem animal isn't the bear. If you start looking at other things, you see that there's a couple vultures. So possibly the artist king's totem animal is the vulture. Out there on the ground, here's some of the area showing the upper part of the mountains all been disturbed. You can actually see how it's being carved into various figures. See the colorations. And then you zoom out and you see that this lower hill has just been totally disturbed. They were preparing this to make more glyphs and turn it probably into productive land, growing cactus and other plants. If you look down towards the river, there's a rock ridge outcropping, and it's all been carved into faces also. You can see the light-colored rock where it's been exposed. Rock that's been exposed for millions of years turns very dark, so when it's light like that, somebody's been carving it. When it all forms faces, it's pretty obvious that it's man-made. Not only that, but the shadows themselves form pictures. If I reverse the colors and you look at the light area, whole line of people being pulled along by ropes, common theme in geoglyphs and in prehistoric art. So that's the end of the trail. I'm going to zoom out and show you a lot of different ways to look at this landscape art. I hope you appreciate it as much as I do. It's pretty amazing to think about and to actually see on the ground how this is engineered. And there's lots more of it. Just needs to be found and studied.